J.Lo was married to her first husband, Owani Noah, for only 11 months, but the short union caused years' worth of court appearances and drama, and it's still going on actually, even after over 2 decades. About $21 million have been thrown around over the years between all the involved parties. Noah, it seems, has worked in 2 major careers during his lifetime: entertainment and the restaurant scene. He met and married J.Lo when he was a waiter. Leading up to the divorce, he had opened up his own restaurant, and then post-divorce he managed J.Lo's restaurant after she asked him if he wanted to do it. Honestly, when it comes to the restaurant aspect of it all, him and J.Lo seem like they're on pretty good terms until 2002, but we'll get into that. Originally, it seemed like he just resented her for issues when it came to Hollywood. Noah has accused J.Lo of using her connections to prevent certain TV shows and people from working with him, tarnishing his reputation by allegedly spreading rumors and taking him to court and things like that. It turns out that the show he might have been talking about being barred from was American Idol when J.Lo was judging. Allegedly, he was planning to make an appearance, but due to his history with the star, it was stopped by her. Both parties have made it clear that they went into this marriage to stay together and tried to work things out. J.Lo said she was raised to be family-oriented, and Noah said that as a pioneer and the first of her husbands, he was a good husband because he believes in marriage, supported J.Lo at the beginning by dealing with her insecurities and anxieties. Noah recently shared his perspective on the beginning of the end. It all fell apart thanks to distance, cheating, and Sean Diddy Combs. J.Lo dated Diddy right after her divorce from Noah. They met while J.Lo was married to Noah, but when being interviewed about their relationship, both stars were adamant that nothing happened until J.Lo was divorced. J.Lo actually said she didn't even like Diddy at first. Clearly, Noah believes differently. He's hinted that he believes J.Lo was cheating on him with Diddy. In addition to working together on a music video, Diddy was involved with J.Lo's first album. At the time, when J.Lo was working on this album, she, according to Noah, had to be in either Miami or New York, but he had to stay in LA to open his new restaurant. He claimed that having the distance between them, plus J.Lo meeting future partners, Diddy and Mark Anthony as well, during that time, resulted in problems the couple just couldn't fix. Despite what sounds like a lot of problems, the couple said they split on good terms, though Noah was heartbroken over it. Him and J.Lo actually found their way back into a partnership with each other, although the context was a lot different. She was opening her own restaurant and needed a manager. Noah has a lot of experience in the field, plus even though they weren't together anymore, she still viewed him as family and wanted to take care of him. She apparently promised him that she wouldn't fire him from the position unless there was a good reason. Noah held that position for 6 months before being fired for a reason he never figured out. He claims that he tried to contact J.Lo, but she wasn't answering him, so he escalated the situation and sued for damages. It did go in his favor. He got $125,000. In comparison to later court dates, the amount of money will seem pretty small, I promise. The $125,000 came with a condition though. The man must never publicly speak about his past relationship with J.Lo negatively. But something must have happened then that stung deep, because Noah broke this condition only a few years later when he tried to publish a book that was exclusively about his romance with Jenny from the Block. It was going to include all the cheating allegations per some court documents, based on other comments from Noah in future interviews where he said that he would deal with J.Lo's insecurities, he hated being on the red carpet despite her wanting him to appear with her, and how the couple would often fight and pretend everything was okay. It's likely that the book was not going to be a kind reflection of J.Lo, and this is where the cover-ups started. J.Lo obviously did not want a book by her ex in rotation, so she blocked the release. Taking her ex to court, her representation argued that Noah breached their previous contract, that he would keep the details of their relationship under wraps. This time, the courts ruled in favor of Lopez, and she was awarded $545,000 total. $200,000 of that was damages, the rest for arbitration costs and attorney's fees per CBS News. It was also reported that everything related to the book was to be given to Lopez. It was at this hearing that a permanent injunction was issued. Noah could no longer criticize, cast in a negative light, or otherwise disparage or cause disparagement to Lopez. Despite the injunction, Noah would go on to attempt to release a movie about the relationship that would allegedly include home videos of Lopez. She sued for $10 million, won, but then was sued by a producer for that film for $10 million. That was dismissed though. It's clear that J.Lo really is not interested in the public finding out the details of her first marriage. Owani Noah's potential film about his relationship with Lopez was allegedly supposed to be a mockumentary or like a parody style film. I guess they thought that they would get around the rule against Noah that he had to refrain from disparaging J.Lo publicly. There was also the rumor that it was going to include some of over 11 hours of unseen private home footage of the couple. That was in pretty clear violation of the rules, so it makes sense that J.Lo and her team stepped in. She sued for $10 million for, per today, breach of contract, violation of publicity rights, invasion of privacy, and more. So that affected Noah and producer Meyer for that film, but the other producer of the film, Vasquez, was not included, so they hit back with their own lawsuit. They were suing J.Lo now, also for $10 million. They had been working on a different J.Lo related project, this one called I O J.Lo, and I believe that this one was supposed to be about the time that J.Lo and Noah went to court over his book about their relationship, where he violated their privacy agreement and then was required to pay her over $500,000. So this one was technically not about J.Lo and Noah's relationship in the past, but kind of like an extension of it. It was very confusing. Point is, because J.Lo had just very publicly sued and stopped her ex over not just his book, but also a potential movie, Vasquez's movie was just scrapped. In their words, their film became radioactive. Why would a studio risk financing something if there's a very real possibility that it will get shut down before making it in the air? The whole situation almost worked out in the producer's favor, but the whole case was based on a cease and desist letter that was ultimately ruled to be privileged legal communication that can't be used in court. With no case, it was dismissed, and J.Lo technically won. Despite how it all ended, from interviews Noah has done in the past, it seems like the couple was incredibly in love at first and had a sweet wedding ceremony. J.Lo has echoed this, however, she did look back on the marriage a few years ago, and her comments were interesting. She said that she doesn't really count her marriage to Noah since it was so short, and at that point in her life, she thought that if she married someone, that would mean there would always be someone there for her. Something she now realizes is a bad reason to get married. In a resurfaced interview from around 1999-ish, J.Lo mentioned that towards the end of her marriage, there were a lot of problems, something Noah inadvertently agreed with when he commented on the fact that Ben Affleck has a resting grumpy face when he's out with J.Lo. Noah claimed that he understood Affleck as him and J.Lo used to have a lot of arguments but have to pretend everything was okay for the cameras only minutes later. J.Lo hinted at what some of the issues between the couple might have been in an interview after their divorce, saying that she believed that he was insecure when it came to finances and her being richer than he was, and she likely always would be. She also once suggested that he had wanted a relationship where J.Lo would stay home while he goes out and makes the money, but alas, she became a millionaire and paid for their home. As for J.Lo's current divorce from Ben Affleck, it's looking like that story is going very, very differently. Reports have said that the couple split has been going pretty well. They've agreed to part with what they each made during the marriage and what they had before. The only sticky parts are the home that they bought together, but with a team of experts working with them, that will likely be smoothed over in no time.
In your own wife possibly being a part of an alleged illicit crime ring? Ben Affleck apparently can, because supposedly he has been given tapes that have Jennifer Lopez herself in them when the police raided Sean Combs' home earlier this year. If you are new to this channel and have not been keeping up with the celebrity gossip, y'all better strap in, because it gets messy. A quick rundown of why these tapes are so important and why Lopez may be facing some serious charges. As of this year, Sean Combs is held at the Metropolitan Detention Center for quite the list of crimes. These include trafficking, racketeering, and illicit intimate relations that all supposedly happened during his Diddy parties, to which these portions of the parties were called freak-offs. The Diddy parties were an iconic event to be a part of, which were hosted over a span of literal decades, from the 90s all the way to 2020. They were originally labeled as white parties, where people would follow a strict dress code of wearing all white, to which these ended around 2006. However, much more apparently went down at these parties, to which a photographer who worked with Diddy for 20 years named Fonseca stated she hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary when it came to the outside section of the party. But only specific people were allowed inside of the house. Who these people were, however, are still unknown, and she definitely wasn't one of them. She recalls a moment during one of his parties where Sean Combs was supposedly with a girl she had never seen before, and so, as she was hired to do, decided to take a photo of the two of them together. Sean Combs noticed this, however, and told his bodyguard to get her camera. Fonseca was surprised by this because in the entirety of those 2 decades she worked for him, never once did he ask for her camera. When she finally got it back, she noted how no photos were deleted, which was probably a smart move considering how many flags that would have raised. When Sean Combs' house was raided, there were a few notable things they discovered, such as narcotics, 1,000 bottles of oil, and alleged tapes hidden away. These supposed tapes apparently have information about what actually went down during these freak-offs, and that's where Jennifer Lopez comes in. Apparently the tapes that Ben Affleck was given after the raid of Diddy's home contain her being a part of the incident that happened in a nightclub back in 1999. Apparently, musician Moses Shine Barrow took the fall for Diddy during an intense scene that was going down, but J.Lo had lied, saying that Barrow was the one that started the incident in the first place, and that inevitably ruined his career by sending him to prison. Affleck even makes the comment of, they go raid Puffy's house, and they get all these videos of J.Lo doing this and J.Lo doing that. You're just gonna keep us in the dark like that, Ben? Come on, details, details! These tapes are apparently the reason for the strain on their relationship, and mayhaps might just be the reason for their divorce. A former CEO of Death Row Records states this, I'm quite sure they, FBI, probably called. It's a white man who got respect in the white world. I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. Lopez and Diddy's relationship was a quick one, lasting only for about 2 years from 1999 to 2001, which was eerily around the time all these allegations had taken place. Diddy even tried to get back with her at one point too. I mean, yeah, it's frickin' Jennifer Lopez in the 90s, I would too. It's been reported that since then, Affleck has moved out of their $60 million home in Beverly Hills, and supposedly they're trying to keep it on the down low about them selling it too. The former CEO claims he is not surprised that Ben Affleck wants out ASAP after this. It's been no shock that Jennifer has been really stirring the pot when it came to her own publicity over the past year. From spitting gum in an assistant's hand to getting an employee at a hotel fired for a simple autograph. From what we know about Ben, his slate has been cleaner than hers. At least that's what the former CEO says. He ain't tripping off paparazzi. He's living his life. He got his own team. She done brought all that extra stuff out, and now that man, he won out. I don't blame him. He's got his own image to look out for too in this industry. And he has. And he's been working towards recovery with his own demons. But Lopez apparently didn't think that one through towards the end of last year. Supposedly, she was extremely insensitive to his problems when she made a launch for her own adult drink brand DeLola, when she had just recently walked down the aisle with Affleck. Lopez apparently doesn't even drink herself to help preserve her skin, which was confirmed to InStyle. Lopez was quick to backpedal though and say she only drinks for special occasions, since there are photos of her with a cocktail in her hand. Quoted herself, I know that a lot of people have been talking about, oh, she doesn't even drink, what's she doing with a cocktail out? And to tell you the truth, that was true for a long time. I didn't drink. A few years back, as you will see from several photos of me over the past 10, maybe 15 years, I have been having the occasional cocktail. And yet still hasn't addressed the tone-deaf launch when it came to her now ex-husband, just made it about her. She's supposedly trying to regain her image after this mess unfolded, especially after one of her recent tours. This Is Me Now completely tanked in ticket sales. A source told the Daily Mail she is focused on her own work and wants 2025 to be the year she gets back to being herself. She isn't actively looking to date right now and is still processing losing Ben again. She, like most people, would love to have love in her life again. If something presents itself, then obviously life and love find a way. But she isn't looking to get into any new relationships. I'm curious to see what 2025 brings for our diva, and maybe, hopefully, we'll get a new change from her for the better. Aside from the Diddy case, something else has been supposedly exposed about our diva this year. I've talked about it before in another video on Inform Overload, but for those of you watching for the first time, there's a rumor going around that Jenny from the block has never stepped foot onto a block in her life. Well, an H&R block maybe. Jennifer is being slammed for supposedly lying about her own empire that she built. Lopez really milked, and still does, her past history about growing up in the Bronx, and how times were extremely tough for her as a child. Which, before, rags to riches stories were a huge cash grab, because everyone wanted that opportunity to happen in their life. Now, I'm still waiting for mine. A few parts of her upcoming documentary, The Greatest Love Story Ever Told, which delves into the life of her and Ben throughout these 20 years. Yikes. After with what we know now, shines a little light in her past. And the specific video that has been speculating around the internet is the one where she is in front of a mirror playing with her hair. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. Crazy little girl who used to F and be wild and no limits. all dreams. Yeah, this did not end well on social media and sparked a huge backlash on her image. A TikToker by the name of Silaminian calls her out. "We weren't running up and down the block like that, even as a kid." What block were you running up and down on? Do you have any footage of this? Pictures of you being in the Bronx? Being a normal child? Of course, things might have changed in the last few decades with people choosing to stay inside more, technology advancements, rise in crime. Yeah, I wouldn't be running up and down a block either anymore. However, another TikToker, Pictures by Angela, whose video has now since been removed, I believe, has exposed Jenny from the Block to have attended a private high school, specifically the Preston High. I saw your high school photo. You did not have hair like that. We also both attended an all-girls Catholic high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block, she states. To remind you those who have returned for more Jenny videos, this school's tuition per year, as of today, is $12,395, and this doesn't include the general fee, senior luncheon, graduation fee. A user by the name of Carenza even commented, "I can't explain it, but every time J.Lo pops up and she's talking about the Bronx, she gives me Michael Scott vibes, and now I can't unsee it." That's not a good character to be compared with either. Let's see if she really chooses to keep her word in the following year. "I'm all about people changing for the better, but fool me 5, 10, 16 times, shame on me. Your image is everything in the A-list world. And man, has it become distorted for you, Lopez. Try and prove us wrong. I'll definitely be waiting. Oh, and try not to get anyone else fired for an autograph before that, okay?"
Now, J.Lo is a performer, not really a singer. I mean, J.Lo claims she performs and sings live, but that isn't always the case. In November of 2021, she was slammed by music fans for allegedly lip-syncing during her American Music Awards performance as she took the stage to carry out her brand new song, "On My Way, Marry Me." An angry viewer ranted, "Come on with the overproduced singing, this commercial sounds exactly like her live vocals just did." A commenter pointed out, "Now why are you lip syncing? You have a great voice, just sing the song." Now this isn't the first time this has happened though, as in 2014 she was caught lip syncing her performance of "I Love Ya Poppy" on American Idol. And again, fans were not happy about this. But should we really even be shocked? I mean, J.Lo doesn't even sing her own songs in the studio versions. Now, for example, her song "Play" is sung by AM to PM singer Christina Milian. Christina wrote the song and she sings Play's entire chorus. Ashanti has also lent her voice to J.Lo, playing it off as her own. In fact, you can hear her singing on "Ain't It Fun" and "I'm Real." Ashanti spoke about this in 2014 and said, "I wrote Ain't It Funny. I demoed the record for her before I was signed and they kept my hook and some of the background and ad-libs and stuff like that. It was bittersweet because I was really excited that it was J.Lo, but I was so mad at not being able to have the record for herself," she said. Shauna Harrell is also alleged to be responsible for some of the vocals in "If You Had My Love," and Makeba Riddick apparently is the voice behind "All I Have." Now, the chorus from her song "Jenny from the Block" was rumored to have been sung by Natasha Ramos, who demoed the song. Now, in fact, Natasha addressed the claims in 2019, tweeting, "J.Lo did indeed go in the studio and lay down some background vocals over mine. So I wouldn't say she's so much lip syncing, however the backgrounds are predominantly me and some ad-libs and laughs are as well." When fans found this out, they called out J.Lo for lying and branded the music industry trash and insisting that Jennifer should not be famous for work she never did. But Natasha then stood up for the star. She wrote, "Well, that's a little harsh. J.Lo is one of the hardest working women in business. In my opinion, she certainly deserves all her success. I just deserved more from that project too. That's on the label though, not Jennifer. It's all kind of history at this point, lol." But J.Lo has also been accused of straight up stealing songs from other artists. Now, one of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2015. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J.Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J.Lo to just take it." Now, besides all of that, it's been revealed that J.Lo is a cheater. Now, Jennifer and Ben Affleck had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. Now, they just got divorced this year. It was a huge thing, but the timeline of their relationship in general is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Jennifer filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after J.Lo wrapped the movie Gilgy alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Now, even though she repeatedly denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in the Hollywood Reporter gushing about J.Lo before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father Larry spoke out against the couple and accused J.Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Gilgy, saying, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer." He added that she'd be happier if she just tell the truth, and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing about her. Now, this is quite ironic because just years before, J.Lo accused Diddy of cheating on her and how heartbroken it left her. Now, I have to bring up J.Lo's infamous movie line interview in 1998. Now, this very well could have ruined J.Lo's career, as at the time she was 27 and fresh off the success of her film Selena. Now, she basically decided to trash all other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and their contributions to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, J.Lo actually said, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, this was so ironic because J.Lo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than J.Lo, so there was really no comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work, she said. Now, yikes, this did not go over well, and hey, I can't blame the celebrities she dissed for being upset. Now, this year, Jennifer recently released her documentary on Amazon Prime called This Is Me Now, A Love Story, which gave behind-the-scenes looks into her new album, This Is Me Now, and the accompanying movie, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Now, some fans who watched it, though, took to social media to call Jen out for her lies. In one scene, Jennifer poses in the mirror of her personal gym as she shakes out her hair and reminisces about her childhood in the Bronx. "I feel like taking my hair out like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block, crazy little girl who used to be wild and no limits, all dreams," she said. However, a TikTok user, Photos by Angela, slammed the star in a series of videos as she claimed to have gone to the same Catholic high school as Jennifer and accused her of lying about her experience living in the Bronx. She said, "We both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block." In fact, the Bronx is a place that J.Lo actually avoids. Now, how do we know this? Well, due to a commercial she filmed. The commercial is from 2011, and the caption to it on YouTube says, "This commercial is titled My World and is voiced over by Lopez, who is seen driving a Fiat 500 Cabrio as she travels through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up." The new ad explores her personal take on how life in the New York City borough continues to inspire her to be tougher, to stay sharper, and think faster. But this ad backfired when it was reported that she never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in was used instead. And I mean, if you watch the ad knowing this information, it's pretty obvious. I mean, why not just ditch J.Lo and use a different celebrity who would actually show up on set? Now, it's just crazy that they let her get away with this.
Are J.Lo and Ben Affleck really over? Some new snaps of the couple have emerged that are throwing everyone off. Was there
their recent meetup just a simple New Year's exchange or something more? The Daily Mail reports that the Jenny from the Block singer and Air director met up January 5th, aka Golden Globes Day, at Affleck's home. From photos acquired from the meetup, it seems the pair seemed to be on good terms. It appears that J.Lo even gave Ben's son a big hug. Despite the sweet meetup, that doesn't mean the couple is getting back together anytime soon. In fact, the opposite might be true. It's known now that the two megastars are getting a divorce, but the process is taking a step forward into settlement territory. J.Lo is also apparently looking to drop the Affleck from her last name. Just because J.Lo is leaving the Affleck surname behind doesn't mean she's dropping the whole family. A source claiming to be close to the couple says that the pair decided to remain in each other's lives even though they aren't romantically involved anymore. J.Lo was a parent to Affleck's children and vice versa while they were married, and that is not something that you can just erase. The source said the pair are agreeing to communicate when it involves the kids, and that's already happening, it seems. At the Sunday meetup, J.Lo's child seems to have been exiting Ben's house carrying a large gift in their hands. Affleck walked behind them. As previously stated, J.Lo embraced Affleck's son, a sweet interaction all around. The source shared that though the pair aren't necessarily looking to co-parent or have that type of relationship, they are still close to each other's families and feel as though they have a blended family in a lot of ways. Affleck and Lopez, along with Affleck's ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, were all spotted in the same place just before last year ended. Their kids attend school together and were in a play. Makes sense considering who their parents are. Photos of the famous celebs from the event show nothing but proud parents and happy vibes all around. It's unclear how involved the adults will be as the divorce moves forward, especially with an official settlement apparently being reached. People were shocked to learn though that J.Lo and Affleck did not sign a prenup before marrying, especially since they both do so much and then make so much from what they do. It was shocking that they would risk splitting everything 50-50. TMZ has broken the news that the pair have allegedly come to an agreement though. TMZ reported some of what was presumably on the table through what each party is apparently set to keep. Affleck's stake in Artist Equity, the production company that he and BFF Matt Damon created in 2022, about 4 months after Affleck married J.Lo, that is sticking with its founder. The company has had a successful run so far with films like Air and Unstoppable, the latter actually featuring J.Lo, which, speaking of, J.Lo has a number of individual success stories from the marriage, like her romantic comedy, Marry Me, which I actually saw in theaters, had a great time, her self-produced musical album movie and documentary about said movie, plus a few other film endeavors that she is keeping. It all boils down to the easy idea that whatever the person earned, they get to keep. But there is one thing that they did share, and that was their house. Now, I wasn't in the room with their lawyers, and all the details are confidential, so I have no idea exactly how they're dividing up that $61 million mansion, but TMZ claims that an agreement has been reached, so there is that. As of right now, the house is still on the market, so we will have to wait and see exactly how it all proceeds. Apparently, the whole situation was mediated by Laura Wasser, and she clearly did a great job. As it stands, neither party is due to pay spousal support to the other. But is an amicable agreement really that shocking? From photos and clips of their recent meetups, it's clear the former couple are still very civil with each other, some might even say friendly. It's clear there's still affection there. Plus, they both had successful years well together. Why not just let the other person keep what they made? Allegedly, they even met up at the tail end of last year to exchange holiday gifts. The divorce was filed back in August, and it appears everything is almost in order, and now they're just waiting for the official finalization date of February 20th, roughly 6 months after everything first started. The source close to the couple shared that due to their history, Affleck and Lopez will always have a mutual respect for one another. New footage has dropped of J.Lo that has people whispering that Jenny from the Block has made a deal with the devil. I know that is probably not what you were expecting to hear next, but here we are. The clips emerged around November of last year, right in the middle of the whole divorce with Ben Affleck's situation. You know, going through a divorce is known to be a difficult thing, but take one look at J.Lo and you would never guess. Seriously, the woman is glowing and looks stunning in literally every red carpet appearance, every paparazzi picture, and every selfie. Of course, that leaves people to draw one conclusion as to how the artist is getting this stunning image. Spoiler, it's not financial security or a dedicated support team, but that she must have made a deal with the devil. Celebrities being accused of demon dealing, is that new? No, No, unfortunately not. Conspiracies rule the internet. But at least this time, the viral tweet first making the demonic claim appears to at least be a joke. J.Lo appeared at the LA premiere of Wicked in a glittering gown. She looked incredible. Popular Twitter celebrity updates account, PopBase, shared a clip of J.Lo posing on the red carpet. The tweet was viewed millions of times and had thousands of engagements, but one stood out from the rest. A quote tweet that read, "She traded her vocals for eternal beauty and hasn't looked bad a day since." Now listen, the context to this tweet is people like to be mean to J.Lo on the internet after they found out that many of her tracks feature vocals from other performers that J.Lo either claims to be her own or she just doesn't clarify that the main voice isn't her. Then there was also the canceled tour and a series of memes spawned from her This Is Me Now situation documentary, especially since so many celebrities turned down appearing in them, and some that did appear in the movies seemed more confused than anything else. And then there was the whole misunderstanding where it looked like J.Lo had asked longtime friend Derek Huff to move his wedding around to accommodate her movie. Point is, there is a lot that has happened regarding the singer over the past few years, and roasting J.Lo just seems to be an internet pastime right now. But there is one thing that the people cannot touch, and that is her look. J.Lo truly always looks good. A positive, ongoing comment about J.Lo is that you will never catch her looking ugly or broke, and that has been proven true time and time again. Even when there is so much seemingly going on with the star personally, she's always glowing. So it must be a deal with the devil. Of course, what's the real secret to J.Lo looking 10 out of 10 all the time? What is she hiding? It's clear the star is naturally beautiful, but that is enhanced by a glam squad and, as many people speculate, cosmetic procedures. J.Lo has said publicly that she prefers to age naturally and isn't one to run and get a lot of work done, but not everyone believes her. Some have accused the performer of getting major surgeries. One person even accused her of using her family's genes to get a vampire facial, seemingly implying her eternal youth comes at the expense of her own youths, which that is definitely a sentence someone has typed about her. I almost missed the initial devil accusation. Generally, people seem to believe, including some aesthetic doctors, that if J.Lo has had work done, it is often subtle and expertly performed so that she never has a jarring transformation, so stuff like Botox or fillers. The most common major procedure people believe to have happened to the star is a nose job. Apparently her nose was originally slightly wider when she started out her career. Now there is technically some truth behind that rumor. J.Lo confirmed getting a nose job when she was younger, but that was more medical than anything else to fix a deviated septum. Is J.Lo hiding other cosmetic procedures? Well, that is unclear, as is her involvement with the leader of the underworld. But if I had to hazard a guess, I think that J.Lo's youthful glow can be attributed to confidence, well-placed cosmetics, lighting, and maybe a cute Instagram filter every once in a while.
Jennifer Lopez's new documentary is getting some mixed reviews, some believing she exposed too much of her personal life with Ben Affleck. First off, we see Ben talk about how he felt exposed after Jennifer shared a private book of their emails and letters. 20 years ago, I fell in love with the love of my life, and during that time I was making an album called This Is Me Then, Lopez is heard telling a crowd in the documentary. I hadn't made an album since then. Years later, we got back together and I was very inspired. The inspiration came after her, quote, Bible, she calls it, which was the book Affleck gave her on their first Christmas together. It is every letter and every email that we wrote to each other from 20 years ago to today, she says, sharing that he titled the, quote, Bible, The Greatest Love Story Never Told by Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, 2001 to 2021 and counting. Lopez placed the book in the studio and let her collaborators go through it for song inspiration. To Ben's surprise, Ben appears shocked and surprised to find out that Lopez shared this private book he gave her with everyone in the studio. When talking to the artist working with Jennifer Lopez, Affleck discovers that they gave him a nickname. I was like, you've been showing all the musicians these letters? Affleck says in the documentary, and they were like, yeah, we call you Pen Affleck. And I was like, oh my god. In the documentary, we also learned that Ben had some serious reservations of his love story being shared so publicly. I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, he tells the cameras, and if you're making a record about it, that seems kind of like you're telling it. In another scene, Affleck expresses how it was an adjustment for him to have her share their private life with the entire world. Jen was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work, he says. I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I have always felt are sacred and special because, in part, they're private. So this was something of an adjustment for me. Ultimately, Ben comes to terms with Lopez's project after realizing it's not all about their relationship. I don't really love being in the making of a documentary about my personal life, which is why I'm so relieved that I'm not really, well, it seems like I might be in this, but I'm not really, he says. I was worrying for no reason. The movie wasn't about me. It was about the ability to love yourself, and that love story is a lot effing harder to find than Prince Charming. Next, we learned Ben had to make compromises when they got back together. Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media, Ben says. Then I sort of realized it's not a fair thing to ask her. It's sort of like, you're gonna marry a boat captain, and you're like, well, I don't like the water. He added, we're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise. Next, we learned in the documentary that some A-list stars declined to be in the movie musical about her life that accompanies the documentary. In the documentary, Lopez reveals Anthony Ramos, the In the Heights star, was offered the role of her significant other in the rebound scene of the movie. He was going to do the rebound number with me and the glass house, she tells wardrobe supervisor Sean Barton during rehearsals, and he was like, I'm friends with Mark Anthony. Lopez was married to Mark Anthony from 2004 to 2014, and the pair share 16-year-old twins. The rebound scene that Anthony was supposed to be in shows Lopez in a toxic relationship with a drunken partner. The singer, however, never specifically mentions who the song and scene is about. We also see Jennifer crying about a past relationship and how it negatively impacted her self-esteem. She gets emotional as she recalls a relationship in which she says she was, quote, manhandled before she hit rock bottom and realized it was time to get out. Though she doesn't name the ex, singer and actress speaks candidly through tears about the experience and how it affected her going forward. Being thrown around and manhandled is not fun, she explains. I was never in a relationship where I got beat up, thank God, but I've definitely been manhandled in a couple of other unsavory things. Jen doesn't reveal who treated her that way, but her long career in showbiz has involved plenty of high-profile relationships in addition to her marriage now to Ben Affleck. Jennifer shares more about her past toxic relationships by saying, quote, there were people in my life who said I loved you and then didn't do things that were kind of in line with the word love. You have to hit rock bottom where you're in situations that are so uncomfortable and so painful that you finally go, I don't want this anymore. A therapist said to me, what if this was your daughter? What would you do? And it was so clear, she called. I was like, I'd tell her, get out of there and never look back. But for me, it was so clouded and so complicated with so much of my past and my own pain and hurt and dysfunction that I couldn't see clearly. It was like looking through fog. Jane Fonda had some honest words with Jennifer in the documentary while on a phone call with her. I want you to know that I don't entirely know why, but I feel invested in you and Ben, and I really want this to work, tells Jen of Ben Affleck on a call filmed for the documentary. However, this is my concern. Like, it feels too much like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it. You know, either every other photograph is kissing and the two of you hugging. Jennifer shrugs it off and laughs though. That's just us living our life, says. But Jane Fonda did have a point, and if Jennifer listened to her, it may have saved her from receiving horrendous reviews online after both movies came out. Some saying the movie musical is the worst movie ever made. One reviewer made a list called The Reasons Why This Sucked. I had no idea what was going on in the movie. There was no theme. Actually, there were too many themes. There were so many talented artists who were used more as props. They should have had bigger roles. This movie seems like an ode to herself for nailing down a man. It's not really about love. It's a movie about conquering a man. It's basically telling everybody that other relationships that her and Ben had were just filler until they could be together again. Her kids and Ben's kids are going to be watching this. Do they really need to know how much she loves making love to their dad? We all know it's not her voice singing those songs, and if it is, auto-tune should get a lot of credit credit, the reviewer says. The reviewer finishes off by saying she's narcissistic, way too in love with herself, and for people clicking more than 2 stars, did you actually watch it? Or are you just clicking on 5 stars because you love this egomaniac? Thoughts in the documentary on former co-star Jane Fonda's phone call, saying Jane is still very protective of her and felt like you're putting yourself out there to get beat up again. Jane Fonda's concerns resurfaced when she thinks about photos of the couple at the Grammy Awards, in which Ben Affleck's disinterested expression became the target of memes galore and gossip about the pair's relationship. I get real scared, you know, with all that about the Grammys, and he looks unhappy, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? Fonda told Jennifer. Nothing, replied. Jennifer Lopez also revealed she got multiple no thank yous from more fellow celebs that she hoped would appear with her in the movie. Taylor Swift, whom Jennifer joined on stage during Taylor's Red Tour 2013, declined, according to Today.com. Jason Momoa, Jennifer Coolidge, Lizzo, Vanessa Hudgens, Ariana Grande, and Snoop Dogg also allegedly declined. Khloe Kardashian was another potential celebrity cameo who dropped out. I don't want to force anybody to this who go, it's gonna be fun, Verse says in the film. Nobody wants to say no to me, Benny. I get that, she tells her manager, Benny Medina. But when an actor doesn't like a script good enough or is worried about it, that is what they'll say. Jennifer, who ultimately put $20 million of her own money in visual album, also admits in the film that the whole project made her nervous too. People are scared to put out there. I get it, she says. Took me a long time. I'm scared. I don't act like I'm scared. That's the secret to my whole effing career. Looking back on her childhood, Lopez also reveals that she felt very ignored by her dad and that her mother was always the center of attention. She got used to being around people who acted that way. Jen felt emotionally neglected as a child, Ben Affleck says. He continues drawing parallels between her longing for approval and his own past struggles with alcoholism. It's a hard thing to look at somebody whose professional life is wildly successful and who on Instagram looks like they're living the happiest life in the world. The thing you discover is there isn't enough alcohol in all the liquor stores in the world to fill up that thing. In Jennifer's case, I don't think there's enough followers or movies or records or any of that stuff. Part of you still feels a longing and pain. Ultimately, that's the work that you gotta do on your own.
Number 10, the alleged racism. Jennifer and Ben Affleck tied the knot in a surprise wedding in Las Vegas and decided to have a bigger ceremony not long after. This time around, they opted to celebrate at Ben's 87-acre compound that is just outside of Savannah, Georgia. But this choice in venue sparked criticism that shouldn't be ignored. Called by the family as the Big House, Ben purchased the home in 2003, and it features 3 separate homes within: the Oyster House, the Summer House, and the Greek Revival style home. The listing agent said, when talking about the home, every detail is historically accurate, from the plaster moldings to the heart of the pine floors. But it seems that because of being historically accurate in nature, it's left fans wondering. Commenters on social media began criticizing the couple for hosting a celebration at a plantation, which of course is a style of home that has association with some pretty horrible history. To make matters worse, Ben and Jen were aware of the dark history in his ancestral line. News One reported that 7 years later, Ben issued an apology after requesting the PBS show Finding Your Roots withheld information about his plantation-owning ancestor. This allegedly even led to PBS shelving the show. This left many fans wondering why the couple would choose this home at all as their wedding venue, as well as why they own it in the first place. Despite finding his roots and knowing some of his ancestors' dark past, many found this to highlight some problematic behavior of ignoring the dark history of some of the buildings. Though the house itself isn't true in time, the land is. The property was reportedly owned by a plantation manager and allegedly is an unmarked graveyard. Most assume that Jennifer was aware of this information prior to planning her wedding there, and this hasn't left a good taste in many fans' mouths about the couple since.
Number 9, talk smack about other actresses. When a reporter from Movieline turned up at Jennifer Lopez's home to conduct an interview in 1998, he was greeted with what he described as being an orchestrated and deliberate scene. While J.Lo was being pampered by a number of different staff members doing her business, while she was getting a massage, she seemingly felt the need to let loose during the interview as she started taking swipes at a number of her industry rivals. When she was asked what she thought about the actresses of whom she was competing for roles for, she said the Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character she does, despite the fact that they worked together on the set of Oliver Stone's neo-noir crime thriller U-turn. Lopez then went on to say she was never really a big fan of the two-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder, and she also went off on Gwyneth Paltrow, who would win Best Actress at the Academy Awards the following year by saying, "Tell me what she's been in." Jennifer then went on to tell the reporter in the infamous interview, "I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I've heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I've ever heard about her work." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Number 8. Bad acting. You can't deny Jennifer Lopez had some movie hits in the past, but lately fans are torn, questioning if she has just lost the touch. After failing to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in the movie Hustlers in 2020, fans took to social media to share their thoughts. The TV host Wendy Williams believed she was completely snubbed, saying, "Let me tell you something, Jen, you were robbed. They robbed you purposely because they're jealous of you." But some fans just didn't agree, speculating that it was her acting that was a direct result in the 0 nominations. A fan wrote at the time, "She has acted in 36 films but has never won an Oscar. Yeah, that's because they're all bad." They added, "No one wants to tell her the truth. Hustlers was a terrible movie, and her acting was very one-dimensional." Other fans seem to agree that maybe Jennifer has lost the sparkle that she did once have. On Reddit, when asked, "What do you think of Jennifer Lopez?" one user wrote, "She had promise. Honestly, she has fallen prey to the fame game. She brought solid work for a couple films, but she is no longer a phenomenon or a rare talent." They even went on to add, "She can fade with people taking very little notice. Things have a way of working themselves out." Harsh statements for sure, but what do you guys think? Are Jennifer's acting days behind her?
Number 7. Insults musicians. During another Movie Line interview, Jennifer also offered her opinion on fellow pop star Madonna's career when she claimed Madonna was good at the former, but not so good at the latter by saying, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when I say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." However, the Queen of Pop isn't the only musician Lopez has shaded, as there has been much speculation that J.Lo's short-lived relationship with Drake in 2016 was nothing but a publicity stunt. However, the fact that Rihanna, who had somewhat of a complicated relationship with the Canadian rapper over the years, unfollowed Lopez on Instagram after she was posted in a pic across the Grammy winners, it seems to suggest that there indeed was some truth to the coupling. Lopez then revealed that she and Drake were working on a song together, but working with J.Lo doesn't always end well, and Drake learned that the hard way after she dissed Drake during a live show in Las Vegas by telling the audience that he was nothing but a late night call for her. And we all wonder why he won't bring a nice girl home to his mom for once.
Number 6. Insensitive comments. Jennifer Lopez was called out for some criticized comments made about her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2020. For the halftime show, J.Lo came together with Shakira for an iconic event. Despite having 6 minutes of performance times each, it received a huge amount of praise from the stars. However, after Jen's documentary Halftime came out, discussing some of the struggles of the show, a few fans took back their former praise. Not only did Jen brand the whole thing as the worst idea in the world, but she had some very specific views on a political aspect. It seems her organizers just weren't seeing eye to eye with her at the time. During her performance, she was surrounded by children sitting cross-legged inside a glowing cage. Many came to the conclusion that these glowing cages were intended to look like immigrant children being held in cages at the US detention centers. You're probably thinking, how could this be bad, as this is a topic that should be more widely discussed? But it was her comments afterwards that got fans pretty heated. It seems the NFL was more reluctant to include this moment at all, which pushed J.Lo to fight back at the show's organizers in a heated phone call which was shown in her documentary. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just out here shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing." She went on to say, "I want something real, I want something that's going to make a statement." Not long after the documentary was released, a certain line about belly dancing found its way across Twitter. One Twitter user wrote, "In a new documentary, J.Lo compared belly dancing to just shaking your butt. She said this type of dance and what Shakira offered wasn't culturally relevant enough to be shown on stage." They continued on by saying, "This comes after she said she was not happy to share the stage with Shakira. She's bitter, loud, and wrong." Others even accused her of having an ethnocentric mindset, where she believes her culture is superior to others. One other social media user wrote, "To say that belly dancing, a Middle Eastern culture, has no substance is so ethnocentric and perhaps a little racist."
Number 5. Drives co-stars crazy. Now, there's a list of actresses who have felt like Jennifer Lopez brings things a little too far on set. And one of those people's on the list is Cameron Diaz, especially after Jennifer went on to diss her about her career to Movie Line by labeling Cameron as a lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities to the point she wishes Cameron would have just done more with her talent. Jennifer's brutal assessment of Cameron's career trajectory reportedly made things a tad awkward for the pair when the actresses were both cast in the 2012 film What to Do When You're Expecting. On-set sources would then reveal that the two on set just couldn't get along. Lopez then didn't endear herself to Cameron, who allegedly said the pop star was a nightmare to work with, as she once even said to Jen she should stick with her day job, meaning American Idol and singing, as an insider even claimed that Jennifer demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and she would even stop work to have her assistant run her over some small protein and a veg-based meal. This drove Cameron crazy. Details of their feud would soon become a hot topic after it appeared in Star magazine, after a source claimed to the media outlet that the co-stars actively avoided one another by saying they don't interact much, but when they do, the tension is thick. And Jennifer just acts like Cameron doesn't exist. However, when both actresses denied the rift while promoting the movie, it then caused critics to say this was ultimately just all planned.
Number 4, music theft. From her career in acting to her music career, it seems controversies seem to follow her. Over the years, Jen has been accused of stealing songs from other prominent artists in order to gain more fame for her music quicker. Back in 2005, J.Lo released her 4th studio album, which was called Rebirth, though it seems to be received from some pretty mixed reviews. The song Get Right was pretty widely praised, and at the time it was reported that the singer Usher was furious though, accusing Jen of using his music. He said at the time, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right. But I didn't expect J.Lo to just take it." According to Usher, Get It Right was his song with the title Ride, and it was available to listen to show proof that it was her that just re-recorded a version of his own song. Not only that, but Jen was also accused of using Ashanti's vocals for her song I'm Real. She said at the time, "You should always care about who you give credit to, regardless of what industry you're in. It's really important to give credit." Luckily, in the end, she did get credit, but still, it's not a very good look.
Number 3. Makes ridiculous demands. Most big musicians send riders when negotiating with a venue or organization prior to a gig, but if the stories are true, Jennifer Lopez has made some crazy diva demands over the last couple of years. As according to Huffington Post, J.Lo was all set to perform at the opening of the Indian Premier 2020 cricket tournament, which has a TV audience around 60 million people in 2013. But apparently, she lost the gig when IPL bosses found out that she was asking for a private plane, numerous hotel rooms to accommodate all of her stylists and handlers, and the organization was so shocked to even point out they didn't even want to play ball with Jennifer and they would replace her with Pitbull. However, apparently those demands are nothing when you compare them to the impossible requests she made ahead of her medley performance at the World Music Awards in 2010. As the Mirror would report that the singer allegedly requested a helicopter to be on standby, as well as a custom-fitted speedboat and a pair of diamond-encrusted headphones to drown out the sound of the boat's motor. And her people have even requested that she had an entire floor of a hotel to herself to ensure she isn't hassled. Privacy was such a main concern, she even once had a piece of beach roped off for her as well.
Number 2, problems with staff. Jem seems to have been accused of treating her staff honestly pretty terribly. During a storm of fans sharing their uncomfortable moments with Jen, one woman accused the star of being rude to her drivers. The TikTok user revealed that her father once worked for a company that Jen would use to hire and provide drivers for her. The TikToker claimed that Jen does not allow the drivers to look at her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they weren't exempt from Jen's scolding. Not only that, but she refused to have her luggage ever touch the ground. Because of her diva temperament, she shared that her father refused to drive for J.Lo because of all the horror stories that he heard through the grapevine. J.Lo is no stranger to being called a diva, but not even being able to make eye contact really does seem a little bit extreme.
And coming in at number 1 today, we have too full of herself. There's confidence and then there's arrogance, and Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between both categories for years. As the star even once declared in an interview with Movie Line that she herself is an A-list celebrity. When Movie Line then asked her why she was a hot property in Hollywood at the time, she then delivered an incredibly immodest answer by saying, "Because I'm the best." She said, "I feel I can do anything, any kind of role, I'm fearless." This kind of honesty is somewhat refreshing, but having too much belief in yourself yourself and your own abilities will inevitably get under the skin of your colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez then claimed to have something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. At the time of her career, even though it was 1998, it was a good year for the star, but she certainly fell out of favor with critics in 2003 when she landed the Worst Actress title at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And ever since, her career has had a bunch of ups and downs, and it seems like it gets worse whenever the actor lets all the fame go to her head.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J.Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking two headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J.Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie J.Lo alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J.Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of J.Lo. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J.Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J.Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J.Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J.Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J.Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J.Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6, the Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J.Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5, insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that J.Lo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4, avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J.Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3, the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined J.Lo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because J.Lo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than J.Lo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, J.Lo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But, rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodaj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J.Lo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful."